The thing is, taking smaller amounts of drugs like Ozempic for weight loss is not something that has been rigorously studied.
There's the new Hollywood face that is very chiseled, kind of gaunt.
More than 1,800 lawsuits have been filed over adverse side effects, with the liability estimated at more than $2 billion.
Number 4's own son had to say something because he was so worried. But girl, that is nothing compared to what the celebrity at number 1 revealed. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. It literally broke the internet and completely changed how everyone talks about these treatments now. We're talking about changes so dramatic that people started asking real questions. Family members stepping in, doctors speaking out publicly, and the side effects some of these guys admitted to, way more intense than anyone expected. Okay, so here's what's been happening as of early 2026. Men in Hollywood have been transforming, and I mean dramatically. But here's the thing nobody's talking about. When guys lose weight really fast, everyone just goes, good for him, and moves on. Nobody questions it, nobody worries. It just flies under the radar, until suddenly it doesn't anymore. Because then the photos started showing up. Red carpets where fans were like, wait, who is that? Social media exploding with, is he okay? Comments. And the pattern became impossible to ignore. But real quick, where are you watching from? Drop your city below, and if you're already invested, smash that like button and subscribe because this gets wild.
You have a lot of grace. You clearly have stamina.
Well, it's, the camouflage hides some of the bulk.
Starting at 15, we have Jack Black, and honestly, this one made me sad. For 30 years, Jack was the guy who just loved life. School of Rock, Tenacious D, his whole vibe was joyful, energetic, unapologetically himself. He was never trying to fit some Hollywood mold, That was literally his brand. Then throughout 2024 and 2025, fans started noticing he looked really different. Reports say he dropped around 30 pounds pretty quickly. He's been posting workout videos saying he's keeping up with The Rock for their Jumanji movies, which sounds reasonable on the surface. But here's what got fans talking. That roundness in his face, the thing that made his expression so fun to watch, kind of disappeared. He went from that bouncy Santa Claus energy to looking way more lean. And people were like, wait, even Jack Black is doing this now? The timing raised eyebrows because insiders mentioned he needed to match his co-star's fitness levels for filming. And that's the part that feels off. Jack spent decades making fun of Hollywood's obsession with perfect physiques. He was the anti-gym culture guy. So when even he feels pressure to change at 56, it sends a message that nobody's safe from this trend.
I did this summer lose a good chunk of weight by microdosing a GLP-1.
Number 14 was refreshingly real. Andy Cohen just straight up admitting what he'd been doing. So Andy hosts Watch What Happens Live, right? And for years, he's been asking celebrities, especially Real Housewives, super invasive questions about their appearances. Like, he'd literally grill them about whether they were using treatments or getting work done. Then in September 2025, Andy comes out and says he spent the whole summer using a lower dose of GLP-1 medication, lost 25 pounds. And he framed it like, look, I can't keep asking other people these questions when I'm doing the same thing. That felt pretty honest, He talked about how it helped him think differently about food and drinking. He was clear that he has access to medical teams and expensive options most people don't. He even joked about being part of the Real Housewives of Ozempic thing before admitting he was involved too. But here's what stuck with me. Andy has made a whole career out of analyzing celebrity culture. He knows how all this works. And even with all that awareness, he still felt like he needed pharmaceutical help for 25 pounds. Like, if someone that's self-aware still felt the pressure, imagine what everyone else is dealing with. Hold on, number 13 did like 3 different things all at the same time. Boy George revealing his whole process. In his memoir that came out in 2024, Boy George laid it all out there. He'd lost almost 100 pounds through really strict eating, then started using treatments to keep it off. When one didn't work fast enough, he switched to a different one, and then he got surgery on top of all that. But girl, here's the detail that made my jaw drop. He said he went on tour with Cyndi Lauper right after the surgery, like literally performing while still healing. He called it the most painful thing I've ever done, and said it was worse than anything he'd experienced before. In the book, he basically joked that everyone's using these treatments now anyway. So what's the big deal? That casual attitude kind of normalized something that's actually pretty serious, At 64, Boy George should be able to just exist without all this pressure. But instead, he threw everything at the problem. Multiple approaches all at once. It feels less like getting healthy and more like constantly trying to fix something that doesn't need fixing. The performing while healing detail especially shows how far some people will push themselves for appearance.
being that athletic guy, go back into where, I get in shape like crazy.
Number 12, raised eyebrows. Kevin James revealing his approach that had medical professionals questioning it. The King of Queens guy built his whole career on being relatable. He looked like a regular dude, and that was the point. Then in 2024, word got out that he'd lost 60 pounds through what he described as fasting protocol over an extended period. Kevin was clear that he didn't use any pharmaceutical help. He kept saying it was just willpower and discipline. But here's where it gets tricky. Wellness professionals were like, wait, that level of restriction for that duration is pretty intense even with supervision. He's talked about feeling better physically, which is great, but the way he framed it, like following such an extreme protocol is just impressive dedication, sent a complicated message to people watching. Because for regular folks trying to manage their weight, that's not a sustainable model to follow. The concerning part is he presented this super restrictive protocol as the right way to do it, almost like he was proud of avoiding medication by using an equally intense approach. It's like both paths have issues.
The All the Way Up rapper confessed to using Ozempic after shedding 200 pounds in a recent interview with Us Weekly.
Number 11 was interesting because he just owned it. Fat Joe admitting exactly what helped him after losing 200 pounds. So Fat Joe was over 400 pounds at his heaviest. That was literally part of his identity as a rapper. Then, in October 2024, he came out and said, yeah, I use medication to help keep the weight off. Here's what made people uncomfortable though. In interviews, Fat Joe talked about consuming small portions. Like, the amounts he described were so minimal that wellness professionals raised concerns. Fat Joe's been super transparent, which honestly is refreshing. He didn't hide anything or make up some story. He just said, this is what I did. But fans noticed his face looks really different now. You can see how the rapid change affected his features. The thing is, this probably saved his life health-wise, and that matters a lot. But the way he described his eating patterns so casually made some people worry that his followers might try to copy those approaches without understanding the full medical picture or having proper supervision.
No, that's Ozempic.
Okay, number 10 was honestly both funny and concerning. Tracy Morgan saying he gained weight while using the medication. The 30 Rock star started taking treatments in 2023 and was talking about how they cut his appetite. For a while, everyone thought it was going well. Then, in March 2024, he went on The Tonight Show and dropped a bombshell. He said he gained 40 pounds while using it. I learned to out-eat it, he joked. Like, the medication was supposed to make him less hungry, but he ate anyway and actually gained weight. The audience laughed, but it revealed something important. What Tracy experienced shows that these treatments work by making you feel full, but they don't fix the reasons why someone eats when they're not physically hungry. Stress eating, emotional eating, eating out of habit, the medication can't touch that stuff. The complicated part is, Tracy went through all the potential side effects without getting the intended results. His honesty was valuable because it showed that these aren't magic solutions. For some people, the mental and emotional relationship with food is way stronger than any pharmaceutical approach can handle.
On tour, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna eat grilled chicken. I'm gonna eat carrots.
Number 9 faced nonstop speculation. Post Malone losing 55 pounds and constantly having to defend himself. The rapper went from 240 to 185 pounds, and fans immediately started asking questions. Some people were genuinely worried, thinking something was wrong. He had to keep explaining it was just cutting out soda and wanting to be healthier for his kid. On The Howard Stern Show, he was super emphatic about not using any pharmaceutical help. The explanation makes total sense. He used to drink so much soda that cutting it alone could definitely cause major weight loss. But here's what made this messy. The more Post denied using treatments, the more defensive it sounded. And that defensiveness itself became a thing people talked about. Whether he used anything or not, the fact that his explanation was constantly questioned shows how normalized these treatments have become. Fans literally made memes out of his denials. The whole situation became this weird cycle where he's trying to share his genuine health journey, but nobody believes natural weight loss is possible anymore. That's kind of sad when you think about it. Someone doing it the regular way still gets treated with suspicion. Number 7 was one of the first to really talk about the rough side effects, Stephen Fry admitting how difficult the experience was. The beloved British actor tried treatments to manage his weight, and according to what he shared on a podcast, he lost over 70 pounds pretty quickly. At first, the results seemed amazing, but then things got really rough. Stephen described getting sick constantly and feeling completely exhausted. He told the River Cafe podcast he was so tired he couldn't even lift his head sometimes. It wasn't just regular nausea. nausea. He said he felt physically depleted. At 68, Stevens' experience highlighted something important about older people using these treatments. The rapid change left visible effects that don't just go away after stopping. Fans who've loved him for decades said he looked noticeably more tired and worn out after the experience. Stevens' willingness to describe the difficult parts honestly probably helped more people than it hurt. Because behind all the glossy transformation posts on Instagram, this is the reality for some people. It's not always smooth, it's not always comfortable, and for some folks, the tough side effects outweigh the benefits. We're halfway through, and this keeps getting more intense. Smash subscribe right now so you don't miss the top 5.
How much did you lose?
So far, about 35 pounds, a bit more.
Number 6 exposed something deeper. James Corden trying treatments and realizing, I don't eat because I'm hungry. The Late Late Show host admitted a while back that he'd tried medication to help with weight. According to his podcast, the treatments worked exactly as advertised. They made him not hungry at all. But that didn't stop him from eating. James described this moment of clarity, where he realized his relationship with food had nothing to do with actual physical hunger. He'd still find himself eating despite feeling completely full. Without getting into specifics, James talked about how losing his main coping mechanism without replacing it with anything left him feeling kind of empty. The thing that had always helped him manage stress or emotions was suddenly just gone, and he had to face why he was really eating in the first place. Here's why this matters. James's experience showed that these treatments work by removing hunger signals, but if someone's eating for emotional or psychological reasons, pharmaceutical help won't fix that. James's honesty about this failure was actually more valuable than most success stories. It revealed the limits of trying to solve a psychological issue with a physical solution, and it reminded everyone that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to something as complicated as our relationship with food.
If you do 100 push-ups a day, you will be in good shape.
That's true.
And I worked my way up, and now I do that every day.
This one genuinely worried people. Jonah Hill's latest transformation sparking major concern across social media. According to reports from late last year, Jonah appeared on his movie set looking noticeably different, and fans immediately started commenting. The change from previous years was pretty visible, and people were asking if he was okay. Here's what makes Jonah's situation heartbreaking. He spent over a decade dealing with public commentary about his appearance. He's been completely open about how that scrutiny affected him psychologically. He's worked with therapists to address these issues. But despite all that internal work, the external commentary never stopped. Each time his appearance changes in any direction, it triggers fresh discussion, fresh analysis, fresh speculation. Jonah's even asked people to stop commenting on his looks, whether positive or negative. Whether pharmaceutical help is involved or not, what's clear is that Jonah's trapped in a situation where public focus on his appearance overshadows everything else. And that constant pressure seems to drive more changes, which drives more attention, which creates more pressure. It's a cycle that looks impossible to escape.
Gotta figure out really what's important to you at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I mean, you just want to be happy.
Number 4 got so serious that his teenage son had to say something. Scott Disick's situation becoming a family emergency. When this all started, fans spotted medication boxes visible in Scott's fridge during the Kardashians. When Khloe called to tell him, he said, "I'm not embarrassed." But what happened after that was genuinely frightening for people watching. According to sources, Scott had been dealing with some intense patterns around food, consuming way too much of certain things, and then swinging to barely eating at all. When he started using pharmaceutical help, reports suggest things got more complicated. Here's where it escalated. Multiple sources said Scott's son Mason reportedly expressed concern about his dad's wellness choices. When your teenager is worried enough to speak up, that's a serious red flag that something's wrong. Friends told outlets they were genuinely concerned. Photos showed someone who'd changed dramatically over just a few months. The shift wasn't gradual wellness. It looked like something more intense was happening. By early 2026, Scott seems to be doing better and has reportedly worked with professionals to find a healthier balance. The irony of number 3 is unsettling. Simon Cowell thinking he's getting younger while looking increasingly strained. According to reports, Simon's been doing all kinds of extreme approaches, including some pretty unusual wellness procedures and possibly pharmaceutical options. He's been obsessed with his appearance for years, getting tons of cosmetic work done. Observers noted a stark contrast. His frame is notably lean, yet his face retains a fullness that experts suggest comes from aesthetic procedures. Sources mention he deals with health issues that sometimes force him to leave set, which raised questions about whether all these extreme methods are taking a toll. Simon admitted in interviews that watching his son eat is really hard for him, which reveals he's constantly thinking about food and restriction. That kind of daily psychological struggle suggests someone who can't just relax about eating. The combination of every extreme approach available, all these different methods stacked stacked on top of each other has created what some people call the most concerning example of male appearance in Hollywood. Simon genuinely seems to believe he's reversing aging. The philosophical part that's troubling is that Simon, after decades of massive success, never found a place of peace with just being himself. He's always correcting something, always optimizing, always fighting against natural aging through every method available. And the result isn't the youth he's chasing, it's someone trapped in endless maintenance. Number 2 absolutely breaks my heart. John Goodman still dealing with pressure to change his appearance in his 70s. The legendary character actor built an incredible 40-year career on pure talent. His work speaks for itself. He's respected across the entire industry. His appearance was never what made him successful. His incredible acting was the whole point. John revealed years ago that he'd lost 200 pounds starting back in 2007, a long-term lifestyle change. That timeline made sense and seemed sustainable, but fans noticed additional changes in 2024 to 2025 that looked different from his earlier gradual approach. At 73, John should be enjoying his legendary status and choosing whatever projects he wants. Instead, sources suggested he felt pressure to modernize his look, or potentially miss out on roles to younger performers. That professional pressure at his age and career level is absolutely wild. The heartbreaking part is that John Goodman has literally nothing left to prove. He's a legend. He's done iconic work across 4 decades. And yet the industry's message was, apparently, even at 73, even after all your achievements, you still have to keep changing your appearance to stay employed. That's the cruelty of Hollywood distilled into one case. If John Goodman can't escape that pressure, nobody can.
Espressos, I need more espressos. But I went up on the Ozempic this week and I had a spray tan and I've got new teeth done for you.
Taking number 1 is the case that made everyone realize how serious this has gotten. Robbie Williams revealing he believes these treatments might be affecting his eyesight. He's tried everything, all kinds of approaches, all kinds of methods. Then, according to his interviews, he started using pharmaceutical treatments and lost weight fairly quickly. But in November 2025, Robbie revealed something that absolutely stopped everyone in their tracks. He told reporters he's experiencing problems with his vision that he personally believes might be connected to his treatment use. According to his statements to The Times, he mentioned studies that have raised questions about potential vision-related concerns. Robbie told The Times that when he's performing for audiences, he says he can't see people's faces clearly anymore. He described them as just blobs. According to his account, he's performing for fans he cannot actually see clearly. The most disturbing part, at the Golden Globes, after publicly discussing his eyesight concerns, Robbie joked that he'd increased his usage for the event. Despite believing it might be affecting his vision, according to reports, the drive to stay thin apparently felt more important than protecting his sight. According to his descriptions and interviews, his internal voice about his appearance is incredibly harsh. The pharmaceutical treatments didn't address that underlying psychological issue. They just gave those thoughts a powerful tool to work with. This takes number 1 because we're talking about what Robbie believes are potential effects on a vital sense. A beloved performer has stated he's concerned about his eyesight, his ability to see his audience, his family, the world around him, because the pressure to be thin feels that overwhelming to him. It's what many see as the ultimate tragedy of this entire trend. And it proves that for people caught in these patterns, the price they believe they're paying for appearance might end up being something they literally cannot afford to lose. 2026 has revealed something genuinely concerning about what's happening to men in Hollywood. These aren't wellness wins. According to their own words and experiences, they're cautionary tales. Stephen Fry describing how exhausted he felt. James Corden realizing the medication couldn't touch his real issue. Jonah Hill trapped in nonstop scrutiny. Tracy Morgan showing these treatments don't work for everyone. And here's the most important thing to understand. These medications were specifically created for people with serious documented medical conditions, like type 2 diabetes, where doctors determine pharmaceutical intervention is medically necessary. That's who these treatments were designed to help. That's their real purpose. But in Hollywood, they've been repurposed for appearance goals. And because these men have millions of fans, followers paying attention, that sends a powerful message. When someone with 50 million followers transforms using treatments designed for health management, those millions of people start seeing it as normal. That's why conversations like this matter. When they're used for aesthetic reasons by people without those documented medical needs, it creates shortages for people who genuinely need them. It normalizes using pharmaceuticals for appearance, and it sets standards that regular people can't and shouldn't try to match. If this opened your eyes to what's really happening with male celebrities, hit subscribe so you never miss when we reveal the truth behind Hollywood transformations.